Hey guys, welcome to our weekly news show here on Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host, and today we're going to be talking about OYO's continued struggles in India, as well as in Indonesia, an update on the situation with PUBG and FAU-G, some good news for Andhra Pradesh, as well as Uttar Pradesh and Telangana, Reliance Industries' $200 billion market cap, all of the latest funding news, and a very special Backstage with Millionaires announcement that you won't want to miss at the end of this video. Alright, so first up in the news, it's pretty much common knowledge at this point that OYO isn't doing well. People are avoiding traveling and staying in hotels as much as possible. And even though occupancy in the hotels that they've partnered with has begun to increase slowly over the course of the last month or two, it's still nowhere near pre-COVID-19 levels. And so with that in mind, OYO has decided to extend the furlough period for another 6 months for all of its Indian employees who are currently on leave without pay. Some of these employees have been furloughed since May of 2020. And so now with this announcement of an extension, they won't be going back to work until March of 2021, which means they won't be getting paid until March of 2021. Now, OYO is offering these employees some very limited benefits, so some people may decide to stay on with OYO for another 6 months. I don't know who those people are, I don't know how they're gonna survive for that long, but I think for a majority of OYO's employees in India, March of 2021 is just too long to wait. And I think OYO knows that. And so they've set up a voluntary separation program. Under this program, employees will be getting salary for the duration of their notice period, and the pay will be based on the salaries that they had in March of 2020 before there were any pay cuts. Also, at one point, OYO had offered all of its employees RSU, that's restricted stock units. And so now they're offering their employees the option to cancel up to 25% of these RSUs in exchange for cash benefit up to 25% of the salary that they had in March. So the way that I'm seeing this is that OYO is looking for ways to reduce the number of employees working at the company without coming right out and saying, you're fired. And it seems to be working. Very recently, two of OYO's top executives, Gaurav, who is OYO's global head of revenue management, and Burhanuddin Pitwala, who was OYO's global head of marketing and growth, have both decided to resign from the company. But besides India, it looks like OYO is also facing some problems over in Indonesia. Now, it hasn't been easy figuring out what's been going on over there because as far as I can tell, nothing about this has been published in English. This is only really being talked about in Indonesia by Indonesian people. And Backstage with Millionaires, as far as I can tell, is the first news channel to be sharing this information with an English-speaking audience. Now, this wouldn't have been possible without OYO Bikin Rugi, which is a social media community comprised of OYO customers who have had negative experiences with the company and want the truth about OYO to come to light. They're the ones who did the research on this story and connected with people that, frankly, we wouldn't have been able to because we don't speak Indonesian. Over the course of the last 6 months, they've interacted with over 800 unique OYO customers, hotel partners, vendors, and former employees to gather the information that I'm about to share with you. And by the way, OYO Bikin Rugi, in case you are wondering, translates to OYO makes us lose money. So first up, let's talk about customers, and specifically customer refunds. OYO has come forward and said that over the course of the last few months, they've been facing tons of refund requests from customers that they say just changed their plans. They didn't want to stay with OYO anymore, so they requested a refund. However, the angry customers that have come forward and shared their stories with OYO Bikin Rugi claim that OYO has failed to mention the refund cases that weren't the customer's fault. For example, there was a room listed on OYO's platform that, according to the hotel owner, was booked by 8 different customers at the same time. It just stayed up on the platform even though it had already been booked, and so new customers were able to book the same room. And so those customers had to request a refund even though it wasn't their fault. There's also a couple of cases where customers were turned away because the hotel that they had booked a room at was closed because of COVID-19. They had booked a room at a hotel that wasn't even open. But it seems like one of the most common and frustrating situations that a lot of OYO customers find themselves in, not just in Indonesia, but around the world, is that their booking is rejected by the hotel. So the guest shows up to the hotel and the hotel tells them, sorry, we don't work with OYO anymore. Or alternatively, the hotel says that, sorry, OYO hasn't kept up their end of the bargain, and so we have to reject your booking in an act of protest. According to these hotels and their own owners, this is the only way that they're able to get OYO's attention. Then, besides customers, we also have vendors who worked on projects for OYO, but were never paid. These are people in photography, branding and advertising, interior decoration, and construction. And it seems like for these people, the only way to get paid is to speak out. For example, there was a construction vendor who was commissioned by OYO to renovate OYO townhouses in Jakarta. And when he wasn't paid, he ended up reaching out to a news channel and his interview went viral. You can find a link to that interview in the description of this video. It's in Indonesian, so if you only speak English, then you won't be able to understand it. But basically, after that interview went viral, OYO finally paid the guy. And according to another vendor who wasn't paid, that's how OYO is continuing to get things done amidst the pandemic. They hire somebody, they don't pay them, and then they hire somebody else to replace them, and then they don't pay them, and then they hire somebody else, and so on and so forth. And that's how they've ended up with a bunch of angry, unpaid vendors. So far, we've covered customers, hotel partners, and vendors, but now let's talk about OYO employees. So according to OYO, back in April, they furloughed 50% of their 800 Indonesian employees, so 400 employees were furloughed. However, according to former employees who have since come forward, that information isn't accurate. According to them, back in December of 2019, there were 1,560 employees working for OYO Indonesia. But by April of 2020, there were only 350 who hadn't been furloughed. And by July, there were only 156. The remaining employees had either resigned or they were still on unpaid leave. And at a certain point, these employees had had enough. They actually filed a joint case against OYO, and after reviewing the case, Indonesia's Department of Labor declared that unpaid leave or furloughing isn't recognized in Indonesia. It's not a thing. You're either laid off and unemployed or you're employed. There's really no in between, and OYO couldn't afford to unfurlough all of these employees. And so instead, they decided to let all of these employees go. But according to these employees, OYO did not do the right thing by giving them all of the salary money that was owed to them plus severance pay. Instead, they gave them severance pay equal to 3 months' salary so that they wouldn't have to pay them both. So yeah, unfortunately, it seems like things are only going to get worse for customers, hotel partners, vendors, and employees who continue to associate with OYO. The startup already had a bad reputation when it comes to honesty and just generally doing the right thing, but it seems like things are only getting worse because of the pandemic. But enough about OYO, let's talk about something a little bit more positive. Earlier this week, the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade released the rankings of states and union territories based on the ease of doing business in 2019. And for the third year in a row, Andhra Pradesh has topped the rankings as the state where it's easiest to do business. In second place was Uttar Pradesh, which jumped 10 rankings from 2018. And then in third place, we have Telangana, which was in second place in 2018. So we're gonna move on to the next news item in just a second, but before we do, if you're not already subscribed, and I know a majority of you guys who are watching this video right now are not subscribed, make sure you do that right now because we post new videos every single week about Indian startups, entrepreneurs, and the latest news. Also, go check us out on Instagram because we post news there every single day. All right, next up in the news, there has been a lot of buzz over the course of the last week about FAU-G, which is an upcoming Made in India video game that was announced by Indian actor Akshay Kumar after PUBG was banned. So FAU-G stands for Fearless and United Guard, and it's being developed by Bangalore-based nCore Games. In the past, nCore Games has worked with Rovio, which is the developer behind Angry Birds. Also, one of the co-founders of nCore Games is Vishal Gunda, who's the man behind India Games, one of India's earliest gaming companies that was founded in 1998. He ended up selling the company to Disney in 2012 for $100 million or approximately 500 crore rupees. But coming back to FAU-G, unlike PUBG, FAU-G is going to be a story-based game focused on Indian soldiers. And one of the stories that the game is going to tell is based on the India-China border clash that happened earlier this year. Now, something that's a little bit surprising to a lot of people who are hearing about FAU-G for the first time is that it's actually been in development for a while now. And so it seems like it was just pure luck that PUBG was banned, leaving 50 million Indian players without anything to play. Now, those players players are going to have to wait at least until October, if not longer, for the release of the game. And because FAU-G isn't a battle royale game, it makes me wonder whether Indian players are actually going to enjoy this game as much as they enjoyed PUBG. I guess that's really going to depend on how fun the game is and how well they design the game. As of today, there's a lot of excitement surrounding FAU-G, and that's been great for nCore because now they're getting a lot of publicity. But that publicity could also be dangerous for nCore games because if they don't deliver an awesome game, then it might just end up resulting in a lot of disappointment. However, nCore Games hasn't released a trailer, they haven't released any gameplay footage as of yet, so at this point it's all just speculation. It could be disappointing, it could be boring, or it could be incredible. We really don't know at this point. Now, they have done a great job of taking advantage of the PUBG ban to get this publicity, but that doesn't mean that they're out of the woods yet when it comes to PUBG. PUBG Corporation has announced that they've cut ties with Tencent in India. That means that PUBG Corporation is in complete control of PUBG and Tencent is out of the picture, meaning that China is more or less out of the picture as well. So currently, PUBG Corporation is looking to partner with an Indian company so that eventually they can potentially get the ban on the game lifted, which is honestly really great to see. It looks like PUBG Corporation is pretty much doing everything that they possibly can to abide by the laws and regulations of India. But that's also a really bad thing for FAU-G. On the one hand, nCore Games is going to want to release FAU-G before PUBG is unbanned, but at the same time, if they rush the game and then it comes out being unpolished and buggy and not very fun to play, then it won't really matter that they launched the game before PUBG was unbanned because nobody's gonna want to play it. So it's definitely an interesting situation, and I'm curious to know what you guys think of it in a comment down below. All right, next up in the news, India's most valuable company, Reliance Industries, just got even more valuable. Their market cap is now sitting at $200 billion, or 14.6 lakh crore rupees. Back in 2018, Reliance Industries was the second Indian company to reach a market cap of $100 billion, that's 6.86 lakh crore rupees, after Tata Consultancy Services. In the last couple of months, Geo Platforms, which is a subsidiary of Reliance Industries, has raised $20 billion from global investors like Facebook, Google, Silver Lake, and Intel. And now it looks like the company is doing the same thing with its retail arm, Reliance Retail. This last week, Reliance Retail raised 7,500 crore rupees, that's $1.02 billion from Silver Lake for a 1.75% stake. This news is coming just a couple of days after Reliance Retail acquired most of Future Group's business. Reliance Retail is now India's largest retailer with more than 12,000 stores across the country and a profit of 5,448 crore rupees, that's $726.4 million in the financial year of 2020. So it's looking like this is probably just the beginning of another fundraising frenzy for Reliance Industries, as Mukesh Ambani had said in Reliance's annual general meeting that they would induct global partners and investors in Reliance Retail in the next few quarters. All right, next up in the funding news, the world's most valuable edtech startup, Byju, has raised $500 million, that's 3,668 crore rupees, in its ongoing funding round from Silver Lake, Tiger Global, General Atlantic, and Owl Ventures. With these funds, Byju is now valued at $10.8 billion, or 80,000 crore rupees. Talking about the impact of the pandemic on the overall edtech domain, Byju Ravindran said that we are fortunate to be in a sector of positive relevance during this crisis. This has brought online learning to the forefront and is helping parents, teachers, and students experience and understand its value. Our classrooms are changing, possibly for the first time in 100 years. And I'm really excited about the opportunities that we have to redefine the future of learning. Since the pandemic began, Byju has gained more than 20 million users, that's 2 crore users on its platform. Today, the company has a total of 64 million, that's 6.4 crore users, out of which 4.2 million, that's 42 lakh, are paid subscribers. They've also doubled their revenues from 1,430 crore rupees, that's $200 million, in the financial year of 2019, to 2,800 crore rupees, that's $380 million, in the financial year of 2020. This year alone, Byju has raised more than $1 billion, that's 7,500 crore rupees, and they're not the only edtech startup raising funds. Recently, Unacademy raised $150 million, that's 1,100 crore rupees, to become a unicorn. Eruditus raised $113 million, that's $830 30 crore rupees, and Vedantu raised $100 million, that's 750 crore rupees. And those are just the massive funding rounds. There's also a ton of smaller rounds that have been raised by smaller startups, but we don't have enough time to talk about them now. All right, next up in the funding news, online investment platform Groww has raised $30 million, that's 220 crore rupees, in its Series C round from Sequoia Capital, Ribbit Capital, Propel Ventures, and Y Combinator Continuity, which is a growth fund of Y Combinator. Founded by Lalit Keshre, Harsh Jain, Niraj Singh, and Ishan Bansal in 2016, Groww offers a simplified online platform that enables its users to invest directly into mutual funds through systematic investment plans, or SIPs. Over the last few months, the company has also added new investment products like stocks and digital gold. So far, Groww has managed to onboard 8 million users onto its platform. With these latest funds, the company is looking to add new products to its portfolio in order to expand its reach in the country. So far, users on its platform can only invest in Indian stocks, but the company is now testing features that would allow them to invest in stocks that are listed in the United States. All right, that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. Thanks to everybody who stuck around until the end. And now, as I promised, here's that little piece of Backstage with Millionaires news. I will let Prithvi share that with you now.
Hi everyone, this is Prithvi once again, and I really hope all of you are doing great. First of all, thank you very much for giving such an amazing response to the Startup 101 videos, which we started as an experiment, and you guys have really supported us very well in last 3 or 4 weeks that we have been live with that new series. So I've been going through all the comments, the feedbacks and questions, and I'm really certain now that this kind of content has a lot of potential, and I'll try my level best to keep bringing this kind of content till the time I can. And just while I was going through these questions, I really figured out that there are a lot of people who are either learning about startups or people who are just starting up for the first time, and they do have a lot of questions, they do have a lot of queries, and they don't really have someone who can directly answer to those people. So for these kind of queries, for these kind of questions, we are actually bringing a new series where I'll be going live every Saturday at 9 p.m. and where I'll be taking direct questions from our subscribers, and I'll be answering them with my experience. And I really hope that just like the other initiatives that we have had at Backstage with Millionaires YouTube channel, you will be supporting this initiative, and I really hope to have some amazing conversations with you. So see you at Saturday 9 p.m.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy our first ever live stream on Saturday. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Backstage with Millionaires, and I will see you in the next one.